welcome to Grandad's Reviews. In this video, I just want to have a look at something I keep seeing on Facebook quite regularly. And people ask, what photo editing software should I use? Should I use Capture One or should I use Lightroom? And which is best? Now, a few years ago, I think the answer was a little bit more easy to say, and Capture One was doing a better job on Fuji RAW files than Lightroom was. But there's been a lot of updates to Lightroom quite recently, some major ones with the masking tools and all that sort of thing, and I believe the actual gap has narrowed. In fact, it's probably about the same. So what I thought I'd do in this video, we'll take one image and we'll edit it in Capture One and we'll edit it in Lightroom, and we'll try and edit it the same so we get the same result at the end, but you can't always get it spot on. Now just remember, how I edit in Capture One and Lightroom is probably different to how you want to edit, and different to how other YouTube videos you'll see, because everyone has their own way of doing things and none of them are right or wrong. As long as you end up at what you want at the end, it doesn't matter how you've got there. All right, there might be shortcuts that I'm missing, or the shortcuts I'm showing you that you're missing to get to that final result. But as long as the final result is exactly what you want, it doesn't matter how you get there. So we'll edit this image in Capture One, we'll edit it in Lightroom, we'll have a look at it normal viewing distance, then we'll do some pixel peeping, which I don't recommend. You're only going to find issues where there isn't, but we'll just have a look if there's any noticeable differences, and we'll just see how the workflow differs from Capture One to Lightroom. So let's get into the computer. Right, so what we're going to do is edit an image in Capture One and Lightroom, and we'll just see if there's actually any noticeable difference now, because I say there's been a lot of updates in Lightroom. We're going to have a look at is this one here. Preview's not very good in Windows, but got a fox, got bluebells in the background, and we just want to do a quick edit on this. I've picked this one because we got obviously detail in the fur and grass and foliage, which Lightroom never used to be fantastic at rendering very well on Fuji files. So right, so we've got our fox here in Lightroom. We'll go to the Develop tab. As you can see, I took it on Provia Standard. Now, the first thing I want to do is change that to a camera matching, and I'm going to go with Belvia as my starting point. I want these colours to pop. And what I want to do is bring the fox out, highlight the fox, take down the background, probably boost these blues just to give a spot on there. Zoom in. This was taken at ISO 1600. You can see there's a little bit of noise on it, but we'll deal with that later. A nice bit of fur detail. If we look at the grass, we've actually got some good detail in the grass. The Lightroom still is doing a good job on these Fuji files. And this is where Lightroom has got the advantage, and that's in the masking details. So the first thing I want to do is press this select subject. We'll show the overlay there. So we've got the subject masked by using the select subject. And what I want to do is create a mask for the background as well. Now the easiest way to do this is go up to the three dots there and duplicate and invert the mask. So now it's duplicated our mask and inverted it as well. There's a little bit on the fox, but it's not too bad at all. Now what I want to do with this is, and I want to make a duplicate of that one there, so let's just take that one off. Right, so on this mask here, I want to intersect it with the linear gradient. We want to put it just somewhere about there. I want to take the exposure down a little bit, just to darken that there. Bring the shadows down, and we'll just bring those blacks down a bit, like so. Those highlights down, take the contrast up a bit. What I want to do here is take this texture slider down. That'll make it look a bit more out of focus. We'll get rid of the noise. Bring that sharpness down a bit. So if we take that gradient off, take the whole thing off, that's what we've done so far. And we've just brought that down a bit there. So if we come to this one here, what I want to do, intersect this mask with a linear gradient. We want to come this way. Come down a bit. About there, I think. Bring the exposure down a bit on that. Highlights, shadows, the blacks. We'll bring this texture right down. Sharpen this down a bit. And let's just take the noise reduction up, like so. So we've gone from that to that. We've got a light shining through as if the light's coming through a slot. So we go to the fox. We'll take the exposure up slightly and add a bit of contrast to it. I'll just bring the highlights up a little bit and the shadows just to bring that up, not too much. And if we go up here, we can see where they clip in now. We'll bring his whites up. I think we'll warm him up a little bit. So to zoom in, we hold the space bar. Just want to bring the texture up, some detail, sharpness a little bit. Then just put some noise reduction in, like so. I think we'll just add a little bit more exposure to it. Just under half a stop, like so. It looks like this light shaft coming down is hitting the side of the fox. Obviously we've got shadow on this side here. Right, so that's masking done. I want to go to HSL, saturation, let's go to all. Saturation, so I want to saturate that bit a bit more. And just brighten that bit, touch more. Now we've got some green going on here. I'll just take a little bit of green out of that, like so. I'm going to go to the basics. I'll bring the exposure of the whole thing up a teeny weeny bit. We've also got a dot here, so I'll just do a spot removal on that. And the next thing I want to do, zoom in here, a new mask. So we've just brushed a mask on the eyes. And what we need to do, I'm just going to increase the exposure by about half a stop. Add a bit of contrast to it. Bring down the highlights. I'll just bring the shadows up. Bring the blacks down. Then we're just going to add a bit of texture just to crisp them up. A bit of clarity. And saturate them a bit. And we'll come out of there. And that's their eyes done. So we've gone from this to this. And we're just showing a beam of light coming and hitting the side of the fox. Right, so we've got the image to my liking anyway. As I say, how you edit is entirely up to you. And this is what I want my final image to be like. And if we zoom in, we've got reasonable detail on the fur. So I've still got a little bit of noise from shooting at 1600. Low light, but no. I think the final image from that to that is what I wanted. So we'll just export that out and then we'll have a bash at it in Capture One. Alright, now we're in the Capture One import dialog. This is our image. Done our base, which was just on standard. So we'll pick Belviewer again. We'll get rid of spot here while we're at it. Let's get rid of our spot. So this is our fox. Now this is the difference we've got now. It's masking. Now we have got this magic brush, and what you're meant to be able to do is draw a line and it'll look for similar areas, but it's a bit but as you can see, it's a little bit hit and miss. So let's just get rid of that. I could say we'll just use normal mask, auto, so it looks for the edges. Softness on the edge. Oops, a bit too much. Like that. We've got that. We can refine that mask. Let's apply it. So there we've got the fox mask. We'll create another mask. And we'll copy that from adjustment layer number 1. And then we'll invert it. So now we've got the back. But what I haven't got here is a way of putting a gradient that's not over the fox. I'll show you what I mean. If I get rid of that, let's create another mask, a gradient on it. I'm always going to go over the fox. I can't intersect like on Lightroom. I can't not go over the fox. So what we're going to have to do here, the whole exposure down, about half a stop I think I went last time. Let's contrast. Lightness down, highlights down, shadows down, and then black. We'll do the whole thing. Alright, so, and then we'll go to the fox. We'll call that fox. Call that background. So we're on the fox layer. Let's just bring the fox up a bit. Contrast on it. Tiny bit of brightness. We'll saturate it a bit more. The highlights down a bit. Bring those shadows up a little bit. Blacks down. Then we'll just go in on the add a bit of structure. I must admit the structure works better in Capture One. And I think right. Into the colour editor, and what we're going to do is pick on this bit here, saturation up a bit, probably not too much, and then brightness up a bit. This is a little bit of green there, so I just want to bring that down a tiny bit. Like so. Let's do the eyes, bring the structure up in the eyes, probably a bit too much there. So we've got that bit there so far. So we're at this position so far. So if we go before to after, got to there. So we'll go to the background. We'll get some noise reduction on it. Like so. Bring the structure down so we're going a bit out of focus. And on our fox. A bit of denoise. Sharpening on there. Right, so we've got a fox. All we need to do now is add that shaft of light here. So we'll create another layer. We'll call this light. We'll pick a brush. And we've got a flow at 50%. The size and softness we need. What we need to do is bring it across from here. And so, and then we'll put another one here, and we will increase exposure a little bit. That, the contrast there, brighten it slightly, bring the highlights back a bit, raise those shadows, bring the blacks down. Let's just have a look what that looks like. So we've got that shaft coming through there. Right, bring the brightness down a bit. Yeah, so there we go. That's our fox sorted out. What I'm going to do is export that. And we'll just export that. There we go. Now all we need to do is go out and let's see if there's any difference between them. So we've edited that image in both Capture One and Lightroom, and to be honest the final result is good in both. You know, I'd be happy using Lightroom or Capture One. The actual difference isn't that huge. Okay, I've got the Lightroom version a little bit lighter than the Capture One, but that's what happens when you're editing. You're not sure what you're going to end up with as long as it's pleasing to you. The biggest differences that you'll notice is in Lightroom, the masking is so much quicker and easier to do than in Capture One. I also find the actual database and how it handles importing and exporting to be better in Lightroom. But again, that depends on what you get used to. But in Capture One, I think it does handle noise and sharpening a lot better than Lightroom does. It also seems to render the colours for the film simulations for Fuji raw files a bit better. Not better, but in a different way, which I find a bit more pleasing than Lightroom. But if I'm going to be doing a lot of editing where I'm going to need to mask certain things, like the subject and the background, and doing gradients and such like, I prefer using Lightroom to Capture One, because it seems to be easier to use, especially with that subject detect and sky detect that you can do, and where you can intersect different masks. It just seems to work a bit better. And if that was in Capture One, that would be a massive boon for Capture One. Capture One's also better for tethering. You need an extra plugin for Lightroom, and that doesn't always work perfectly, whereas the tethering of Fuji cameras into Capture One seems to work really well. So that's our look at editing in those both those programs. There are free versions out there for Darktable, GIMP. Again, they all do a good job. It just depends on what you want to get used to and what you're happy using, as long as the end result is what you want, and that's the main thing. So thank you for watching the video. Please give it a thumbs up, that helps the channel. If you want to see more videos like this, hit that subscribe button. Till next time, see you later.